Make sure to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this.
And then the next one comes overnight Monday there, so Sunday into Monday at 3:35 a.m. Again, we're on that right side of the circulation, or the wrong side, if you will, because that's where we'll have the onshore flow, and we also could be looking at the time of high tide. Bay St. Louis over here in Mississippi, our high tide is overnight Sunday into Monday at 4:52, and so again, we're getting that onshore flow at this time and concerned about the surge impacts. Another risk will be the flooding risk, Molly.
Certainly, and that starts today. And this is unrelated to Ida, as we're watching some storms and some very heavy rainfall move through Louisiana right now. So we're looking at flash flooding not only in the short term, kind of laying the groundwork for a very soggy, saturated soil. This will happen before Ida even approaches. So we're looking at the heavy rain. This is some tropical downpours moving into the New Orleans area, southeastern Louisiana, and with some lightning as well. So not only will this cause some flash flooding prior to Ida moving in, but we're also talking about a lot of people trying to make preparations today, going to the store, trying to get supplies, maybe working on your house, boarding it up. And this is just going to slow things down, and it's going to hurt the process of that, because look at 1 p.m. We're talking about some extremely heavy rainfall from Slidell all the way down to New Orleans, stretching over the I-10 corridor, which has been very soggy all summer long, and even up into Baton Rouge, seeing quite a bit of rainfall. And this will continue through the overnight hours, even into Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. The real relief happens very early Sunday morning, but then at that time, you could already be feeling some tropical storm force winds moving in, potentially some hurricane force winds, and some of the far outer bands of Ida pushing in by Sunday morning. So we are looking at the flash flooding potential continuing tomorrow, but then Ida moves in, and all this area that you see in yellow, that's where we're very likely to see some flash flooding ongoing, not only from the surge moving in, but then on top of that, you have the heavy tropical downpours. And of course, your eye at this point goes right to the bullseye of 12 to 18 inches of rain on the coast of Louisiana. But also look at just how far this spreads inland. We're talking about areas all the way up to Jackson, Mississippi, that could see 5 to 8 inches of rain. So still some slight differences in the model. It just really depends on exactly where this makes landfall. And that's something that we'll get a much better idea of as soon as this enters the Gulf, and we can kind of start to zone in on who exactly is going to see that 12 to 18 inches of rain.
Getting a break right any time of day. Storms already ongoing this morning across parts of Wisconsin. We're also watching another area later tonight from Montana into the Dakotas that could bring some big hail. Saw yesterday in Pennington County, South Dakota, we had some hail that damaged campers and lots of vehicles there. It was, I think, lime size here, so decent size hail that caused some damage. Same sort of atmosphere, plenty of fuel for storms to build on. We've got that turning of the winds here, and it's a little bit more than we saw yesterday. So you've got low-level winds coming in from the south, and then cross that over with our jet stream, where everything matches up, where you have the turning of the winds, where you have the instability, where you have the boundary like we have right here. That's where we will get the worst of the weather. Now, we do have one thunderstorm warning right now in Wisconsin ongoing here, and this one heading over towards the Madison area, this one for Dane County. But watching this cell right here, a little bit of an inflow right in there. You see that, and it is a severe thunderstorm warning, but in the warning itself, it says tornado possible. So it's something that the National Weather Service is watching closely. Here's a look at the radar, the reflectivity that's showing you where the rain is. And here's the velocity showing that there is a broader circulation here. It's not terribly tight. We don't have those greens and reds touching exactly, but they're close. And so there is that potential. If there is a risk of a tornado, the Weather Service would issue a tornado warning. But for now, monitor that one here, and stay away from the windows watching this one, get inside from that thunderstorm. And that's not it. You've got a couple more rounds possible there today as we get right through the afternoon. And then here come those supercells tracking in overnight through the Dakotas.
Here are some of the high plains, and it's stretching over into Minnesota. We have another threat for tomorrow from Goodland, Kansas, all the way up into Duluth, Minnesota, where the strongest storms possible, what you see in that bright red color. So let's talk about that threat. Of course, we have damaging winds being a really big concern, as well as hail, but the Torcon is there too. It's a 3 out of 10. That does include the city of Minneapolis, so not an enormous threat, but certainly not zero, and the potential is there. The environment is there that we could see a tornado or two to spin up within some of the strongest storms. On top of that, yes, you guessed this, because you've seen several rounds of weather now so far this week. That flash flooding is possible, not only tomorrow, but as we go through Sunday morning. For Sunday, our threat moves a little bit to the east and a little bit to the north over the Great Lakes area, where much of Michigan could be seeing those storms as we go throughout the day on Sunday. But quite a bit of rain, and this is good for Minnesota. Certainly you need it, but at this point, it's just a little bit too much of a good thing. You do not need the rain in Wisconsin, but you will see more, not only today, but as we go throughout the day tomorrow. And then Sunday, you do dry out a little bit in a few of these areas, thankfully, as this rain moves into Chicago, up into Grand Rapids, and potentially even to Detroit. So we're looking at 1 to 2 inches of rain widespread for a lot of these areas, maybe even 2 to 3 for the Minneapolis area. I think it's very likely, Jen, that we could see some locally higher amounts, especially where we see several rounds of thunderstorms move through.
Exactly. And certain communities now have more dangers to deal with when a tropical system comes calling, just because
summer,
little tropical wave. And with heavy rain, though. Yeah. So we do have the hurricane watch that's up. We are looking at that all the way from Cameron, Louisiana, that goes actually straight over to the coast of Mississippi, and then tropical storm watches beyond that and inland too, even into Mobile Bay. So, get ready for some impacts there.
And it's important to note that watches are issued 48 hours ahead of time. So you're talking about 2 days, today and tomorrow, and then you're really out of time to prepare as this is going to start moving in. So Lake Charles, we're looking at potentially 1 to 2 inches of rain. That could change if we see any wobbles to the west in Ida's track, and there's certainly time for it to change as well.
There definitely is going to be a gradient of rain, and along into the east of the circulation will be the biggest rainfall here, and tapering off very quickly off to the west. But we're showing you Lake Charles because today is 1 year since Hurricane Laura hit here. I know this threat from Ida definitely has you on guard. This is a look at your forecast getting into Saturday. This is not related yet from our hurricane. Once we get into Sunday, that's when we'll see the more direct impacts coming on in. But just know that the ground will be saturated, leading to any of this rainfall that we get.
And we just talked a lot about New Orleans, but the anniversary of Katrina is actually going to be on Sunday. So it's just that time of year that Louisiana really sees a high threat from tropical systems, and the tide is going to make a huge difference in the storm surge, which could be at some places up to 11 feet.
Yeah, I mean, that is a life-threatening storm surge. High tide for you in Bay St. Louis in Mississippi. We go low tide on Sunday afternoon, which does right now, all things considered, look like the most likely time to see it approach the coast. That could change, though, so be ready for changes, because the next high tide comes in overnight Monday or Sunday into early Monday morning, 4:52 a.m.
And I think it's important to note areas like coastal Alabama, even though you're going to be likely far away from where the center of this makes landfall, still potentially a lot of rainfall moving in.
Rain all the way over to Destin. Rain a couple inches in Panama City, and that onshore flow will create a rip current risk as well.
Being the biggest problems for people trying to make those weekend plans, even outside of this forecast cone.
All right, so let's get you live to Baton Rouge this morning. You are squarely in the middle of this cone, and where storms will be firing out there today and actually into tonight, and that's unrelated to the tropical system. We just got a little tropical wave. We got some heavy downpours, but the last thing we need is more rain. We are already more than 21 inches above average, and now we're tracking Ida as it takes aim here and across other parts of Louisiana.
So let's talk about where Ida is now and where it will be heading. We're talking about some rapid intensification potential here. We see it happen as these storms get in the Gulf very often, where they can go from tropical storm to major hurricane just like that. And that's what potentially could be happening with Ida. Early Sunday morning, we're looking at 100 miles per hour, potentially approaching the Gulf late Sunday, and 1:15. That would be a Category 3 hurricane approaching the coast of Louisiana. So there are hurricane watches out for a lot of coastal Louisiana. New Orleans is included in that, as well as Grand Isle, even Gulfport, Mississippi, included in that hurricane watch. Tropical storm watches extend into coastal Alabama. Here is Tropical Storm Ida right now. Some deep convective bursts going on in the center of this, and that does lend to some signs that this is trying to strengthen, but still holding on to 60-mile-per-hour sustained winds just to the south of Cuba. The hurricane hunters are actually in this storm right now. You can see their path. They've been kind of cutting through the center and slicing and dicing their way through this storm. They're actually on the southeastern side right now. It's unclear whether they're leaving or they're going to make another pass through the center. But since they're outside of the most intense parts, you're not seeing any really of those strong winds. But Jen, they have found some tropical storm force winds pretty consistently within Ida.
Yes, and very close to that 60 miles per hour. Now, we have a new advisory coming out soon, actually at 11 o'clock this morning. It's important to have a severe weather safety plan, no matter what the conditions. Many people underestimate the power of water. Meteorologist Alex Wilson, I know it's scary when you see this much rain coming in, as well as the threat for the surge, both going to create water problems for us here in southern Louisiana. The models are slightly different in the rainfall, only based on where they're tracking the landfall, because there will be quite a gradient off to the west of where we see that landfall in terms of rain. So you can see Lake Charles, you're right on the edge of some of the bigger rainfall. The biggest stuff here with the European model comes in Baton Rouge. We've got Lafayette, we've got New Orleans here, and the GFS actually moves it even further to the east with the landfall, so putting in that footprint of biggest rain a little further east as well. But look how far away from the center of circulation you see some of those bigger rainfall totals, all the way up into Alabama, into Mississippi, with widespread 3 to 5, if not even more than 6 inches of rain. But let's talk about New Orleans specifically here, because of course after Katrina, and you think rain and you think hurricane, you think flooding, it has to do with how we are geographically situated right here. Most of the area below sea level. We've got Lake Pontchartrain to the north. We've got the Mississippi River here to the south, here surrounded by water. A lot of canals that move through the city. So there's a lot of water that needs to be moved out and pumped out, right? Because gravity's not on our side here since we are below sea level. Now, we do have a pumping system that can remove an inch of rainfall during the first hour of rainfall. And then beyond that, it's a ½ inch every hour, up to 5 inches. We've got a big rain event coming in, so of course that's something that emergency managers are watching closely. We talk about evacuations, but it's very important to listen to emergency management and evacuate only when you are told to do so. And if you are told to do so, then you need to do it. All right, we'll keep you apprised of the latest. In the meantime, we'll be right back.